Apparently the world of One Piece is broken. I think that's kind of facts and kind of cap too. But anyways, let's check it out.
Hello, Internet! Welcome
to
to
Film
Film
Theory.
Theory, the show that
Technically,
ate the
it's a
devil
show
fruit,
now.
giving us the power to ruin your favorite childhood
Doro,
series.
Diego,
So, as the
I
general
mean,
audience
Paw
has started to
Patrol.
cool on superheroes, the bigwigs over at Hollywood have been looking for their next big treasure trove of
The
IP
One
they can
Piece.
plunder and turn into billion-dollar hits. And one of the wells that they've been turning to in recent years, anime. And even though legendary
Yeah,
classics
anime.
like Dragon Ball, Ghost in the Shell, and Cowboy Bebop haven't turned out that great, hasn't stopped
Ghost in the Shell? Let's be real. Nobody's watching Ghost of the Shell. I'm sorry. Major
them
cap.
from trying some more. Feels like every week we hear about a beloved anime getting its own live-action adaptation. Yu Yu
Right.
Hakusho is getting one at Netflix. Gundam's getting the big screen treatment over at Netflix. Netflix
Wait,
is
what?
trying their hand at My Hero Academia. Sword
Oh,
Art Online
no.
is making the jump over to Netflix. Wow, that
Wait. A live action My Hero Academia is going to be so bad. Why? Stop. Please.
is a lot of Netflix. Hope it turns out better than Death Note. Wait, they're doing
That is
another
ins-
live-action Death Note at Netflix? Okay, so that's a lot. And given
Hopefully it's
Netflix's
like a
previous
rework.
track record, I think it's fair to be a bit
Change some of
nervous.
it.
But hey, who knows? Maybe they've figured out a way to course-correct the ship. In fact, we won't have to wait long to see if that's the case, because
Amazing
a few days
show,
after
by
this
the way.
theory airs, they're going to be dropping
Amazing
their version
show.
of a live-action
One
One
Piece.
In case you don't know about this massively
Matt
popular
Pass
anime, One
voices.
Piece is all about the swashbuckling Monkey D. Luffy and his ragtag crew of straw hat
Swashbuckling?
pirates, all searching for the treasure
What
of
does
the
that mean?
last king of the pirates. As the king explained before he died,
My fortune is yours for the taking, but you'll have to find
Oh,
it
ask
first.
the question? Yo.
Everything I own in one piece.
now if you thought this was going to be a quick
I'm just
adventure,
about to ask the question there.
oh, you sweet summer child, you're so wrong. One Piece is one of the world's longest running anime, with over 100
And
manga
fantasies,
volumes,
like, in general.
1,000 episodes, and a quarter century's worth of content, with no real signs that they're going to be stopping anytime soon. Gotta be
Facts.
real here with you, loyal
Wait,
viewers.
that's
We've
cap.
been wanting to cover One Piece on the channel for a long time, but there's just so much that you have to watch and read to cover your bases. Watching the anime alone would take you over 17 days straight, with no sleep and no bathroom breaks. Just from that alone, I was really skeptical.
Wait. So I could catch up from. Well, so let's just say I start in the East Blue arcs, right? And then I can, for 17 days straight, I can end up in like current where Gear 5 is? Or Wano? That's actually not that bad. If I had 17 hours of my time. Wait, 17 days. Oh. Yeah, never mind.
Skeptical when Netflix announced
Never
that they were
mind.
making the show, but after seeing the trailer, yeah, I've got some cautious optimism.
I'm Monkey D. Luffy,
His voice.
and I'm gonna be king of the pirates.
Here's hoping they stick the landing.
I got
But with
used
this
to it, though. It's
Netflix
not that bad.
adaptation coming along and basically asking, what if?
The One Piece! The One Piece is real!
I got some
White
cogs
beard.
turning in my head. Yeah, what if the One Piece were real? And by that I mean, what if the world of One Piece were real? This is a franchise
What do you
with
mean
an
by that?
incredibly unique setup in a world that is instantly recognizable. So what would happen if we applied real-world science to it? That's right, friends, we're doing a certified theorist class.
Yeah, this is where it goes
thing
south.
were real,
Yeah, taking One Piece and making it realistic, that might be a problem. Because a lot of things in One Piece don't even make sense. For example, like the huge booster to get into Skypiea. Yeah, that don't really make much sense. I mean, it kind of does, but realistically speaking, yeah, that seems dangerous. Even though it's dangerous in the show, but you know what I mean.
it would be absolutely terrifying. Because make no mistake, if the world of One Piece were real, it would be dangerous, disastrous, and it would ruin basically any attempt to better your
1000%.
life. Hoist your Jolly Rogers, loyal theorists.
I was on a Jolly
set
Roger.
Sail. So
The
before we
Malik
can really
pirates.
dive into why you wouldn't want to live in the world of One Piece, we have to break down just how different it is from our own. Zooming out, you can immediately spot some pretty big differences. First of all, almost the entire planet is covered in ocean, with some small island continents and archipelagos dotted here and there. On the real planet Earth, with all of our massive continents, about 70% of the planet's surface is water. So for the world of One Piece, we're talking closer to 90%. The biggest
yeah.
landmass is undoubtedly the Red Line, a very long, very skinny continent of red rocky mountain jutting out of the ocean, which runs all along what's basically the prime meridian of the planet. Because of this, One Piece's oceans are split into 5 main bodies of water. The 4 biggest are the North, South, East, and West Blues, basically separated into the 4 hemispheres of the
Quarters,
planet. But the 5th
hemispheres,
body
yeah.
of water is actually the most important.
The
It's
Great
Grand
Line.
a wide ocean stream that wraps around the entire equator of
Yes,
the planet.
sir.
This stretch of ocean is incredibly perilous and often called the most dangerous in the world. Normal compasses don't work here. Currents
You gotta use
and
log
weather are
posters.
erratic and extreme, and much of the wildlife is deadly. There's a reason it's earned itself the nickname the Pirate's Graveyard. So,
It is?
other than
Oh, yeah,
that
it is.
forbidding
Yeah, yeah.
label on the Grand Line, what would the big issues of this planet actually be? Well, the first problem the world of One Piece would face actually comes from its most iconic feature, the fact that it's just covered in ocean water. See, this one fact would probably mean that the world's inhabitants don't have time to fight over who's gonna get the One Piece first, because they're too busy fighting over another more essential resource, one required to survive: water. Fresh water. I'm sure I don't need to tell you, ocean water.
That's a great question. How do they have water on the Sunny? Because all the water surrounding it is seawater. I know they can like import water in, obviously. But like, I feel like that's so limited. And like, their adventures take so long. Maybe Frankie's got a lot of color for them just in case. Hey, man.
Not safe to drink.
It'd
All
be
that
like
salt
that.
is not going to give you a good time. In the real world, fresh water only makes up about 2.5% of the planet's total water supply.
Really?
And amongst that already
That has to
minuscule
be capped.
percentage, most of that is trapped in the atmosphere, in ice caps, or is so deep under Earth's surface that it won't see the light of day. The only water
What?
that's truly available for humans to consume are those found in underground aquifers or in freshwater lakes and rivers. I mean, here's a crazy fact for you. If all of Earth's water were shrunk down to the size of your typical water bottle, the amount that would be fresh and available would be about 1/4 of a milliliter. That is literally less than a drop in a bucket. Now,
Why
remember,
is there
all
no
these
fresh
calculations
water?
are in relation to Earth.
I know like the Earth's surface is full of fresh water. I mean, no, wait, that can't be right. Because lakes can be huge. Like, if you compare like the entire ocean to like, let's just say, Lake Michigan, right? That's a massive lake. And compared to like the ocean, I know the ocean's bigger, obviously, but like, it could be considered an ocean how big it is. Like, even look like right here, it's right on this spot. Like, that's massive. Like, even like this right here is one big lake. That can't be 1%. That has to be more.
Earth, a planet that has 30% of its surface covered in land that has
there's probably
massive
even
lakes
more.
and rivers, and even we
Like
still
Lake,
have freshwater
Okeechobee?
shortages. Now take away all the continents, the Great Lakes, the rivers, the streams, and replace it all with even more giant oceans full of undrinkable salt water.
Right.
People are going to struggle. Sure, some islands in One Piece probably have fresh water. Obviously, real-world islands like those in Hawaii have plenty of fresh groundwater reserves and local spring water, but those can run dry, and pumping wells in their
How?
coastlines put you at a massive risk of accidentally sucking up ocean water, contaminating your pool. Factor in the limited farmland available on the islands, and you've suddenly created a world that's going to be forever in conflict, not over a piece of pirate treasure, but over a
But
lack of
Pat,
food.
you're not understanding. The water shouldn't be a problem because it rains. And they collect, that sounds so stupid. But like, if they had like a huge, like a massive tarp, like a massive bowl or a cup of water, and they know it's gonna rain, they can fill it up and use it as drinking water. It's not too far-fetched. It's not like Alabasta. So Alabasta would make so much sense. They have to dig so far deep down to get some water. That's the only thing that makes. Oh, it also has like a rain problem, but
And water. The second major environmental problem you're going to run into in the world of One Piece is coming from its second most striking physical feature, the red line continent that basically cuts the planet in half.
What
How
about
so? Well, this is basically going to make a ton of the islands on the planet borderline impossible to live on. To explain what I mean, let's just take a look at this map of our very real world, specifically the west coast of the United States. You ever
Right.
notice how so much of the west coast is incredibly green, basically running from Canada all the way to Central
Yeah, 'cause that's good
California?
vegetation
Everything
there.
is covered in trees and wildlife. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
And
good
then
vegetation.
there's almost a straight line where everything to the east becomes much more brown, full of deserts and dry grasslands. How does it
Hills,
happen?
maybe?
Well, that straight line separating these two regions is the Cascade Mountain Range.
Oh,
See, there's basically
okay.
a permanent breeze flowing into
So I
North
was
America
right.
from the Pacific Ocean until
That
it reaches the
explains-
Cascades and is suddenly
wait,
deflected
no.
up. That rapid upward movement forces the moisture carried by the wind to condensate, making a bunch of rain and creating an ecosystem that's fit for a bunch of plant growth. This is why cities in the Pacific Northwest are so famously rainy, and why the forests there are so abundant. But on the
I
opposite side of the
see.
mountain
That's why-
range, you have the opposite
So that explains why Seattle is so wet. It's because the mountain ranges pushes the wind back and causes storms and stuff to happen. That's why it's considered one of the rainiest city in America, or maybe like even in the world. It's because like the region and the mountains, they push the water back. I always wonder like, hey, just unlucky spot, but that explains a lot.
The fact. Since
Bro, you
all the
learn a lot
moisture
from
was
watching
taken out of
YouTube.
the air by the
It's
mountains,
kinda
the
crazy.
ecosystems are much drier and hotter on the other side. The phenomenon is fittingly known as the rain shadow effect,
Rain
since the
shadow
mountains are
effect?
casting a metaphorical shadow where there's no rain on the far side of the range. So now let's
I
apply
mean, the
what we just
rain
talked
could
about.
go over the mountain. Like who just said like it's like a massive like rain cloud, and then the wind pushes that over. That will cause it to rain, would it not?
To the world of
That doesn't
One
make
Piece.
too much
Since
sense
the red
about
line
that.
is basically a giant ring of incredibly tall mountains, it's going to cast an equally enormous rain shadow. Since the Grand Line ocean current travels from west to east, then we would expect the wind to also be hitting that western side of the red line
That's
mountain
fair.
range, making the eastern side of the red lines devastatingly dry. And wouldn't you know it, but that's exactly where our intrepid Straw Hat heroes start their adventure. The first 6 arcs of One Piece's story take place in the East Blue Ocean, and eventually end up at the red line. So if this planet were even somewhat realistic, every single island they visit at the beginning of the show would be an arid desert wasteland where there just isn't a lot of water and rain for life
Wait,
to take hold. And it gets even worse from there.
I guess
when
they
you
just
take into
adapt
account
to
the
go
next
over.
aspect of the world of One Piece, the Grand Line, or rather, what's around the Grand Line. See, flanking above and
Stillwater?
below the Grand Line is a stretch of sea known as the Calm Belt. I know
Yeah.
that might sound like it's going to be smooth sailing. It actually creates a giant problem. The Calm Belts here aren't just expanses of pleasant seas; they're completely still, and I mean completely still. In contrast to all the crazy
How's that
currents and
even possible,
unpredictable
though, you
winds of
know?
the Grand Line, the Calm Belts have no wind to catch your sails, no currents to carry you along. And that right there would be outright disastrous, maybe even apocalyptic in a real-life climate
No,
system.
it would
If
not.
water and wind just flat out stopped, like it hit a brick wall at the Calm Belt, that means that the oceans in the northern and southern hemispheres aren't sharing any water. Similarly, since the Red Line continent is basically dividing the world in half, it means that the oceans in the west and eastern hemispheres are also not sharing water, besides a pathetic trickle that just gets through at the reverse mountain. Basically, each ocean in the world of One Piece is in its own entirely enclosed system. Why is that so bad? Temperature. Because the planet's a big old
Temperature.
spheroid, the central part of the
Well,
equator receives a whole lot
Before I'll say this. So he's talking about the calm belt. He said it'd be devastating, but no, that would be devastating whatsoever. Because in the real world, we don't use sails; we use motors. So that'd be kind of pointless, unless he means like we're in that world, but real logic. Unless I think that's what he was saying. So never mind. I take it back. That would be devastating.
more of the sun's
No, but even still. Wait, how did the Straw Hats even cross the calm belt? Was it reverse mountain? Hey, I forgot.
heat
Let me know in the
compared to
comments.
poles. That's
I really
one of the
forgot.
big reasons that places like Central America, Central Africa, and Southeast Asia have such warm tropical climates. However, the currents running throughout our oceans transport the warmer waters from the equator down towards the poles, thereby increasing the overall temperature of those areas and making them more temperate and habitable for more creatures, including us humans. If you want a really good
That's a
example of
penguin.
how this works, look no further than Europe. You ever notice how far north Europe actually is on the map? Cities known for their
Yeah, it's
warmer
really far.
climates like Rome actually sit on the same latitude as more notoriously cold climates like Boston. Europe is able to maintain a warmer climate in part thanks to these ocean currents. So if those currents were to just somehow stop, large parts of Europe and North America would likely experience incredibly long periods of freezing.
In which that could happen because of climate change. Or is it called climate change or climate disaster? I think it's climate change. But yeah, that's very much so can happen. Like the poles can like mess up. And it can cause like he said, like the temperatures to like just go out of whack. And it can change like literally the planet forever. We gotta get it under control for sure.
Conditions,
don't want that to happen.
devastating trade and agriculture in those areas. Now apply this to the world of One Piece. The warmer waters inside the Grand Line are essentially trapped inside the Grand Line. They can't be distributed to the northern and southern parts of the world. That would, in essence, make those parts of the globe permanent Arctic wastelands, unfit for most habitation, let alone any tropical island pirate adventures. Now, all of this is awful, and if One Piece were anything remotely close to realistic, this paints a picture of a devastating hellscape. Basically, half the world would be desert, a lot of the northern and southern hemispheres would be frozen over, and there would be very few resources across the board to sustain any sort of population. The long and short of it, the world of One Piece is totally messed up. Not only would the way the world is built result in something completely unlivable for a huge percentage of the surface, but the natural phenomenon that we see coming from the Grand Line don't only make it dangerous for sailing, it also completely destroys any possibility of technological advancement on that planet. Things would
Yeah, 'cause
basically be
the
stuck at the
electromagnetic
technological level of
field.
the Industrial Revolution or just before, which, hey, wouldn't you know it, that's exactly what we're seeing. In One Piece, everyone is basically just sailing ships around. Engines of any sort are exceedingly rare, and any sort of transportation or technology usually comes from the use of the weird wildlife on the planet or
Yeah.
magical powers granted by the Devil Fruit. So in reality, when you look at it, for as scientifically inaccurate as this world is, the end result is largely what you're seeing on screen. A bunch of people leaving their resource-starved island in hunt of something better. Hi,
The One
diddly-dee,
Piece.
a pirate's life for me. But hey, that's
That was
just
kinda
a
cool.
theory.
A game, film theory, and cut. I love Matt Pass so much. Like, I grew up watching his videos. Absolutely amazing. If you're new to the channel, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. And comment your favorite thing about this video. For me, it was learning about the climate and the mountains and how it makes it rain in a certain area. That was really cool. Yeah, see you guys next one. Bye-bye.